channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. And you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and do it. I appreciate your support and I need your help to grow this channel. Also, head on over to Rumble and find me there under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. Guys, we are going to be talking again about the transgender issue, and I think I have some new things to offer today that I hope will continue to embolden you to understand how to talk about these things, how to address them, and just give you maybe some new insight that you haven't had before. I have a few things that I want to address with people that I see in the way that we're talking about these issues, and I think that we could do better, and this is just my opinion. You can take it or leave it, you can disagree or agree with me, but I'm going to say these things. First was an article from Breitbart, and I love Breitbart, I support them, I read their articles, I love what they do, but the headline is what really bothered me, so I'm going to put it here. You guys tell me what you think is bothering me about this headline. I'll give you a minute. I'll give you, well, like 5 seconds. Stop calling it gender affirming care. There is no such thing as gender affirming care. You don't need any sort of treatment or surgery or medical procedure or drug or medication or prescription or hair length or outfit, name or pronoun or piercing or lipstick shade to affirm your gender. You were born with male anatomy, chromosomes, skeletal structure, muscular structure, brainwaves, and cellular makeup, or you were born with female anatomy, chromosomes, skeletal and muscular structure, brainwaves, and cellular makeup. That's it. Those are the two options, and there's nothing wrong with it. There never was anything wrong with it until we got a group of activists who wanted to convince everybody that this was wrong, that they were oppressed by these ideas, and that they needed to be worked up about it. What these are experimental Frankenstein procedures that mutilate your anatomy and body, and they slap things on that don't belong there, that your body has no idea what to do with, and remove things that are perfectly healthy and functioning in the way that they're supposed to function. Some people on the right even call them sex change surgeries, and that's not even accurate because that feeds this destructive lie that you can change your sex through surgery, which is impossible. You're crippling yourself because nothing is going to work properly once it's done. Anyone who's a victim of gender ideology is not going to get any clarity of what's really happening if both sides are using the same imaginary terms. So here's another thing that I wanted to address. I came across this video of a mom, and this mama bear is actually suing the school where her daughter goes to elementary school because they transitioned her 11-year-old daughter behind her back. And I love that she's doing this. Every single parent that goes through this, and there are a lot, should do exactly this. And I hope she pulls every penny from their predatory fingers that she can.
Hi, for those that don't know me, my name is Aurora Regino, and I am the mother that filed the lawsuit in federal court against Chico Unified for transitioning my daughter without my knowledge. I'm here today to tell my story so parents and the public know what is going on in our schools. Last year, my 11-year-old daughter was in elementary school here at Chico Unified, and her elementary school transitioned her from female to male behind my back. Shortly before this happened, my father had recently passed away, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. My daughter was distressed and began questioning her sexuality, so she decided to reach out to a wellness counselor at her elementary school. The day my daughter shared with her guidance counselor that she felt like a boy, the counselor immediately affirmed this new identity. From then on, the counselor continued to have one-on-one meetings with my daughter without my knowledge. During one of those one-on-one meetings, my daughter told the counselor she wanted to tell me about her new identity. The counselor ignored her requests and did nothing to support her in letting me know what was going on at school. Throughout her transition, my daughter changed very quickly, was bullied, and as a result was very unhappy. And because her school kept this transition a secret from me, she was on her own.
This is just another story that confirms clear as day that these people pounce on kids and teens that have something else going on in their life, that have another vulnerability, that have another stress or trauma going on. The first thing that they're going to tell this kid is that they're transgender. And I hear this from detransitioners all the time, that they were never transgender, that they never had any distress about their sexuality or about their body, but they did have something else going on in their life that was never addressed. But because they had this issue, they were labeled as transgender, they were told that this was the problem, and it was a lot easier to get treatment and to get help for being transgender than it was to get treatment or help for any of the other actual issues that they had.
I want everyone to understand that I want a space for our LGBTQ and trans community members to feel safe and supported. But the policy currently in place at Chico Unified has been damaging to our family. And I am not up here talking about what could happen if you continue this policy. I am up here telling you what did happen to our family. This was a time when she needed me the most, and you kept it a secret from me. I understand that you are trying to find ways to create a safe environment for all children within our district, but keeping secrets from parents is not the way to do it. Treating every parent as a potential threat to their kids is wrong.
So I understand why she felt the need to say that she wants the LGBTQIA and trans community to have a safe space and to feel supported. I get that, and that's at the core. That's what we all want. We want all kids to feel safe and supported, despite what the radical leftists say that we hate all these people and we want to, eradicate them from existence, which is completely a lie. But what gets me is that she felt the need to say it at all because she didn't do anything discriminatory of anyone. She never gave them any reason to believe that she or the daughter that she's raising has any bad feelings for these groups of people. So why should she have to clarify that she's not discriminatory when she's not acting in a discriminatory way? The school board needs to explain why they were so against her daughter continuing with her natural identity and traditionally accepted identity, her identity as a young girl, why they didn't create a safe space for her to be who she is. They literally made an environment that was unsafe for a child who wasn't part of the alphabet soup group. I don't think that we should feel like we have to clarify that we're not discriminatory and bigoted when we're not being discriminatory and bigoted. It's like this reverse guilty until proven innocent, like I'm discriminatory until I prove to you adequately in your terms that I'm not. Like, that's not how this works. When she says, I understand that you're trying to find ways to create a safe environment for all children within our district, let's call it for what it is. No, they're not. They literally put this woman's daughter in danger. They're not creating a safe space for all children. They're not creating a safe space for kids who just want to be a boy or a girl. They're not creating a safe space for kids that come from traditional families or for kids that come from families with conservative or traditional values. They are trampling all over whatever it is that their parents want to teach them at home. And the only space that they're creating, the only way that you're going to feel safe is if they're able to manipulate as many kids as they can, regardless of the diversity of background that they came from, and make sure that they emerge from these institutions in perfect sync with each other in this far left, confused, and destructive belief system. And then she says, keeping secrets from parents about their kids is wrong, treating every parent as a potential threat is wrong. It's not just wrong, it's predatory, it's evil, it's depraved, and it's perverse. Wrong doesn't even begin to describe what it is. When it comes to addressing these school boards, do not apologize for how you're raising your children. Do not give them any credit for what you think they're trying to do because it's not what they're doing. This is about grooming and manipulating children to accept anything but how they were born and disconnect them from their greatest support system, which is their families, which is the recipe for confused, angry, and depressed hostile young adults. People who oppose gender ideology need to stop letting these school boards off the hook and stop telling them that you understand what they're doing and that you understand that they're just trying to create a safe space and be inclusive. Stop letting them off the hook. Call them out exactly for what they're doing and don't apologize or feel the need to defend yourself for things that you haven't done. And there's one more thing that I want to talk about that I want to address that I hear a lot from people who oppose gender ideology, both on the right and on the left. It's in regards to these pieces of legislation that are being passed that bans these anatomy mutilating surgeries for people under the age of 18. And a common talking point is that once they get to be 18, once they're an adult, they can do what they want and it doesn't matter. We recognize that adults can make these decisions for themselves. And of course, I agree with that. For the most part, I think the idea behind saying that is that we think that once people get to be of an adult age, they're going to have more maturity and more life experience and more ability to understand what it means to make a decision like this, and they're probably not going to do it. We also understand that as people get older, they get more comfortable with who they are and comfortable with their body and comfortable with the fact that they're unique from everybody else and they don't feel the need to fit in or to do what the crowd expects them to do. So there's all of these things that play into that, which I agree with. But I also think that we need to actively not be trying to accept this as some kind of mainstream treatment like getting Botox or a facelift. We need to stop talking about age being the only barrier between people who can get these surgeries and people that cannot. And we need to go back to the previous standards of care that we had in regards to people that do have legitimate gender dysphoria. And we need to go back to these extremely high standards where if someone truly believed that they had gender dysphoria, and not this thing where they pick a toy that's not associated with their biological sex, or they like a color that isn't typical for their biological sex, or they started saying that they're the opposite sex only after a parent told them that this was a possibility, or that they read a book that it was a possibility, but actual gender dysphoria, where it used to be that psychologists did everything they could to help this person grow in their body and appreciate their body and get to an age where they truly knew whether or not they were that uncomfortable in their own skin with the sex organs that they were born with, and then made surgery an available option only after sufficiently demonstrating that this is how they truly wanted to live the rest of their lives, where they understood the potential complications and the fact that they were going to have regular doctor visits and follow-up surgeries and personal medical care and everything else associated with it, that they knew how it would look in their own relationships, what it would mean for them in society, and that they knew what they were signing up for, that they could make this truly informed consent. Because it's not about denying people the care that they need, but the standards of care of that we had before put as much safeguarding in place as we possibly could to make sure that once they got to this point of making permanent decisions, that we knew the patient was making their decisions separate from the influence of anyone else, separate from the manipulation of anyone else, and that they knew that these were things that they could live with. And that down the road, when they're dealing with the complications of this and dealing with the depth of this decision, that they knew it was a decision that they made without anybody else telling them that this is what they needed to do. Because this is the most surefire way to make sure that we don't have kids ending up in a crippling state of depression and spiraling downward like Jazz Jennings currently is doing, knowing that they were misled down a path that they never would have chosen, that they never needed to alter their bodies, wishing someone would have helped them accept their body and their identity, knowing that they can never go back, and knowing that this state that they're in right now was entirely preventable. And back to the age thing, adults are not incapable of being preyed upon by these activist therapists. I have seen numerous stories of young adults, again, at a time when they are experiencing distress or crisis, dealing with depression or trauma, and trying to go get help for that, and being convinced at this time that they're trans and ushered down this path, and before they knew it, they've got a double mastectomy or a surgery to remove their genitals, and this is happening as adults. There's a story of Camille Keifel, who's 32, and she had her healthy breasts removed in 2020 to align with her supposed non-binary gender identity. She says her doctors approved the surgery after 2 Zoom meetings, breezing past a whole host of mental health issues, and she is now suing the clinic who did this. There's the story of Richie Herron, who had a anatomy mutilating surgery. He's 35 years old now, but this was just a few years ago. He said doctors betrayed him and left him in lifelong pain because he didn't want to be gay. So there were other things that he was dealing with, but he was ushered down this path to have his anatomy completely mutilated, and now he is dealing with a whole host of medical complications, and he now speaks out against this. But he was also older and going through a mental health crisis that was not addressed. I am just saying that we have got to stop tiptoeing around this issue, and we've got to start calling it for what it is and not use the same confusing and delusional language that the activists are using. Because if whoever's newsfeed, whoever's algorithm we end up in, whoever's peripheral that we end up in needs to know exactly what we're saying and what we stand for and what it is that we are trying to do, because we are trying to save kids from being abused. We're trying to save kids from being harmed. The narrative is that this is all anti-LGBTQ and that we want to harm trans kids. No, we are trying to save them from harm, from being psychologically and physically abused, from being lifelong medical patients. And if we're going to do that, we have to be honest, and we have to be blunt, and we have to be brave. This is not about being violent. This is not about physical retaliation. This is not about threatening people. This is just about being as honest and blatant as truthful as we possibly can be. So please hit the like button, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or even just leave an emoji in the comments below. Also, let me know what you guys would like me to cover, or if there are issues that you would like me to talk about more, or if you have personal stories that you feel you want to contribute to the conversation, just to, let people know that this is happening to everyday people. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.